Welcome back to Blake's Craft Beer Podcast. My name is Blake Longfellow. I'm still here in Columbus. Hope everyone's doing well, and I'm back with an awesome brewery with this awesome person that if you listen to the Women's Craft Beer Summit edition of the Blake's Craft Beer Podcast, it was awesome. I'm so happy to get her back on here because I had so much fun talking with her. I can't talk more with you. Please introduce yourself and tell me where you're at.
Well, hey, Blake. I'm Kayla McGuire, and I'm a brewer for Gemüt Biergarten here in Columbus.
Which is, like we were talking about, I was here once but it was during 2020, which I still had very good beer here, but the vibe here was just a lot different than compared to what it is now and stuff like that. But I'm excited to get back here, especially since my palate has grown since then, and I've gotten into more of this style of beer, which is interesting in craft beer, how your styles of what you taste like just seems like better than it was when you first got into it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Our palates are always changing.
Yes. So talk to me how your story in the craft beer got started.
Oh, man. I met Zane Lawley, who's my husband now, but we worked together, not in the industry or anything. We started dating, we started brewing beer together, and certainly drinking lots of beer together. And maybe, I don't know, 6 months to a year into our relationship, oh gosh, I was writing a beer blog that was pretty bad. It was like a catalog of all the IPAs I had that I didn't like because I didn't like IPAs. But I was just, learning what I liked and what I didn't like. And we were making some beers together, and a friend approached us and said, well, you guys love beer, you like to make beer, why don't you make that a business? And I'll help you with the business plan and all that stuff. So we started working on that project, and a couple months in, I thought, well, if we're going to own a brewery, probably we should work at some breweries, right? And get some experience and see if this is really something we want to do. And so in 2014, I got a job at Actual Brewing Company, which doesn't exist anymore for good reasons. You can look it up online. I'm not going to go into all that right now. But I bartended there. I ran the tap room there for a while. But I got to meet a lot of brewers, which was really cool, because I didn't really want to talk to people about taproom stuff or event stuff or marketing stuff. I wanted to hear about how beer was made. And thankfully, that's kind of what sparked my interest in actually making beer. And it was probably another 4 or 5 years before I actually got to start brewing. I worked at Brewdog for a long time and eventually made my way back to the brewery there. And I started learning how to brew from guys that I met at Actual, which was really cool. And they were super patient, and they already knew me and how... let's just say they knew my strengths and weaknesses already. And so, yeah, they taught me from scratch how to brew beer. I went from home brewing to brewing 180 barrels at a time on a massive, fully automated system. And while I was working there, a lot of crazy stuff happened. But I would leave work and come to Gemüt to drink lagers because I was making hazy IPAs and crazy flavored stouts and stuff like that. But I really just wanted to drink something simple and clean and delicious. And so I would come here to drink beer. And when an opening popped up, I was happy to jump in. And that was September of 2022. And I've been here ever since.
Yeah. What was the biggest surprise for you when going from home brewing to working into brewing? What was the biggest surprise that you found at first?
That's a great question. I think it was pretty easy for me to understand how the ingredients at home translated to the beer that we were making. And Zane, my husband, is really great at recipe development. That is not a strength that I have. So I think brewing on a larger scale where I had less contact with the raw ingredients really made me appreciate the work that goes into making those recipes. Because I don't know, I still really struggle to make a recipe from scratch, but especially going from a test batch size, which for us was 5 gallons, to trying to brew a large scale. I can't think off the top of my head how many gallons 180 barrels is, but it's a whole lot.
So when you went to BrewDog, that had to blow your mind on probably how big they were, and did it overwhelm you at first on how big it was, or is it pretty easy to brew like Hazy Jane and some of the stuff BrewDog is known for?
I think the scale and reach of the company really blew my mind. I started there as a bartender. I ran tours for a long time and did some like HR learning and development kind of stuff. All before I made it back into the brewery. So I think when I started, I sort of took for granted how big that space is. But when you screw something up in the brewery and you have to dump some beer, that definitely brings it back home how big that system is. But I had really great folks to like train me and kind of, help me understand the similarities between brewing small scale and large scale. So that was really helpful.
That's interesting because, from an outsider, I've brewed homebrew, but I've never got this has taken over my home brewing. But when you're thinking automation, so there's still ways to mess up automation brewing, even though.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. We had a wet mill, which is a really incredible tool. It helps with like mash efficiency and stuff like that. But if you're not paying attention to what it's doing, it can kind of run away from you. And that's right at the start of your brew day. And so if you don't, if your mill gets clogged or something isn't going right, or maybe a valve that was supposed to open didn't open and now you're backing up, all of that stuff can really throw a wrench in your day. And in the time that I was there, I brewed there from 2019 to into 2022. We really worked out some kinks and figured out, I say we as if I had anything to do with that. I was just brewing beer and other people were kind of figuring out some of the issues that we had with the system. And we found ways around some of those issues that we would run into, but automation doesn't necessarily mean you can hit a button and it all works correctly. You still have system failures here and there, and but that's kind of always part of being a brewer. I mean, I guess I haven't brewed for like Budweiser or a really large automated plant, but most of your job as a brewer, besides cleaning, is problem solving, whether you're teeny tiny or gigantic.
What's the biggest thing you have had to problem solve?
Oh gosh. Wow, that's a great question. I think Oh, I don't know. I think process-wise, making seltzer at BrewDog was pretty tough because you've got like a product that's unfamiliar. At least it was unfamiliar to us at the time. And you have a really specific idea of how it's supposed to turn out at the end. And when it doesn't turn out that way, you have to backtrack and retry stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I've seen glycol systems fail in various ways, which means, your beer isn't being chilled during conditioning, which is a big problem. I've seen boilers go down, which means that you can't heat your kettle as hot as it needs to be. I don't know. I've been brewing about 6 years, so I know I haven't seen everything out there, but if there's a system in a brewery, it will fail at some point, and you just gotta figure out how to patch it up until you can get it completely fixed.
And any of the problem solves you did at BrewDog has helped you here that, okay, I've seen it here, but now I'm at Gemüt, I know exactly what I need to do to fix that, or do situations change from place to place?
Yeah, I mean, I think every brewery is different but has similar principles. Some of the stuff that we did at BrewDog helped me have the confidence to try things here at Gemüt. I mean, honestly, just understanding how plumbing works, how one pipe or one hose goes from one place to another, how pumps work, has really helped me. I mean, gosh, at my house, I had a really bad clog in my sink and figured out that I could use the dishwasher pump to clear the water out of the like clogged area so that I could like pull apart all the plumbing and get in there and snake it. But I wouldn't have had the confidence to do that if I hadn't had so much practice, I guess, with plumbing at BrewDog and Gemüt too.
So, all right, let's get into the first beer. Which one do you want to start with?
Well, I put them in order from, I guess, kind of how I thought we might talk about them. So the one that's closest to you, that's Hell Hest. That's our light lager. I love this beer because it's 3.6%. It's a light version of a Helles lager. And for me, this is like the ultimate community beer. You can sit and drink a bunch of them and not worry too much about getting too drunk or being irresponsible. What do you think about it?
I like it. I like it. How many is too much with this? I'm kidding.
I mean, it all depends on the person. If you're pacing yourself, I mean, I can drink them all night, but I guess 3.6%, that's like a light lager, a macro lager, essentially. Yeah.
So when you first started brewing this beer, what was the first idea? What blew you away at first on how to make one, or do you already have an idea how to make it, or what was the biggest learning processes?
Well, we changed the recipe a little bit over time just to make it simpler to make. But honestly, the fact that we could pack so much flavor into a beer that is such a low ABV, I mean, it's not sweet the way that a lot of light macro lagers are. People compare it to PBR sometimes. And like, don't get me wrong, I grew up on PBR. I love that beer. But it's so sweet. So I think you still get enough malt character, enough of those hops, but just not as much of the alcohol.
Mm-hmm. So what's the key to making a low ABV lager?
You got to give it all the time that it needs. I think that's kind of the secret to any lager, is giving it the time to actually lager and condition. But making sure that you're treating it the same way that you would treat any other beer in your cellar, and not taking it for granted just because it's a light beer. Yeah, I don't know.
Because so how do you make something low compared to like a high ABV? Is it just less sugars? Is that the key, or is it the yeast in it?
There's a whole bunch of different ways you can come at a problem. So if you want to make a low ABV but not non-alcoholic beer, you're going to design a recipe that's going to give you, not 10%. You want to give it enough sugar
it's
to...
like, oops, a mistake. Oh, this is 10%. Throw it out.
Well, yeah, or water it way down. That would be a pretty big mistake if I made a 10% beer here at Gemüt.
It's called the Mega Hellas.
Yeah, Uber Hellas.
I still try it though, I won't lie.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We just call it like a malt liquor and market it a little different. Yeah, so you want to make sure that you're giving the yeast enough sugar to ferment, but not so much sugar that it's going to ferment and create a whole bunch of alcohol. But you can also water it back cold side if you haven't hit the gravity that you want to hit, if you've gone over what you want to hit. You can always add a little bit of water, and as long as you're doing it responsibly and cleanly, and you're taking into consideration the balance of flavors still, then you're going to come up with a great beer.
Because I'm assuming when you ferment it, then it goes in the lager tank. Probably when it goes in the lager tank, it's probably done fermenting at that point, and you're just lagering, or does it still ferment a little bit in the lager tank?
Well, as long as you've got live yeast in there, and we don't filter any of our beers anymore, so pretty much until it's completely finished and in your glass, it's got a little bit of something going on. Yeah, I mean, part of lagering, part of conditioning is letting the couple of little baby yeast cells that are still alive clean up that beer and settle out and stop doing their job.
What's the misconception with lager you think is the biggest misconception to it?
Oh, people think they can rush it, but you can't rush it. People can taste when you've not given a lager enough time. There's like a sort of, I don't know, I like to call lagers crispy boys. But there is like a real crispness to a beer that's been given enough time to mature and drop out all of those yeast cells that we don't want anymore. But if you don't allow that to happen, I had a friend describe young lagers as flabby, which is like kind of hard to describe as a flavor, but when you've experienced it, you know exactly what that means. That like that there's like a viscousness. It's just not as crisp and clean as you would expect in a lager. That just means it needed a little bit of extra time.
Because how long do you guys normally let your lagers lager here?
Ideally, from when it's completely finished fermenting, it's past its diacetyl rest, we'll give it an additional 4 weeks. And we step it down slowly so that it's not just like completely shocked and crashed all at once. But over 4 weeks, we check it to make sure that it's tasting good, that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Sometimes we'll add some finings to make sure that it clarifies. But yeah, 4 weeks is the ideal. I mean, really, as long as it's still doing stuff, we'll let it go as long as it needs to go.
What's the longest you guys let something go?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'd have to look at my notes. Anymore, we're having trouble keeping up. So 4 weeks is like our benchmark. But people are drinking our beer so fast that
that's not a bad thing.
I know it's a not a bad thing, but it's tough to make those choices when you have to shave a day or two off. When you want to let it sit longer.
Right. So how did Gemüt come out? When did it start? When did the idea start of it, and when did they open?
That's a great question. So we are headed towards our 6th year. Is that true? So I've been a part of Gemüt since September of 2022, but I believe they opened up right before the pandemic. So yeah, I think that would have been like late summer 2019. Our ownership team is made up of 4 people. Kyle and Chelsea are married, and they do sales, front of house events. Chelsea is like a really incredible host, and when we need help in the kitchen, she is like holding it down, keeping the ship afloat. But she's also really great at organizing events. She's super creative. Kyle is really more, he does more like logistical stuff, does sales, helps with like front of house kind of management stuff. But then Rob and Nick are also brewers. So the brewing team is just the 3 of us. And they have different strengths too, which is kind of cool. It makes a full round team. Rob is really good with QuickBooks, and so he helps with like the business finances all around, but also brewing. And then Nick has like an engineer brain, so he's constantly building stuff and trying to improve the facilities, however that needs to happen, whether that's in the brewery or in the tap room. And then the 3 of us make all the beer.
Right. I mean, you guys can, I mean, the style where craft beer is heading, you guys can make any better styles right now, especially where craft beer is heading right now, because, you know, the light lagers, the lagers itself, you know, I just was at 7-7 before I got here, and how the West Coast IPAs have roared right back. It's like we're coming back to where craft beer was like in 2013, and I feel like.
Yeah, I've heard a lot in the last couple of years that, that you can't get by with just making one style or a niche collection of beers, but that has not been our experience. One of the beers we'll taste a little bit later is a collab with another brewery. So that's a little outside of our wheelhouse, and we're always open to doing that kind of stuff. But as far as what we have on tap all the time, it's mainly lagers. And I don't have an ale yeast strain in house, so if I wanted to make an ale, I would have to either order in some new yeast or collab with somebody. We've got some of those in the works, but for the most part, we've been able to stay really busy with just the beers that we make without really stepping too far outside.
And when people come to your brewery, are they surprised with what they see, or people know you by now? Hey, when I come here, I know I'm expecting lagers, not much else.
I think it's a good combination of both. We have a really solid collection of regulars that are awesome, and they're here probably more than they want to admit, and they'll tell me if our beer tastes different than what they expect, which I really appreciate. But then we still have the random guy that comes in and says, "Give me your IPA," and we're like, well, unless we've got like a guest beer on, occasionally we'll keep a Derive hazy IPA on. But yeah, for the most part, we don't have an IPA in house,
which is very uncommon right in today's age, which is pretty cool. I mean,
yeah,
it's cool. That's what I love about craft beer, though, is most breweries, I mean, a lot of them are the same, but there's a lot of them that you go, they have completely different beers than you were expecting.
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
when you travel.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, what's this next one?
Number 2 is our Skull Crusher Dortmunder.
Ooh, nice.
We won gold with this one at the World Beer Cup in 2024, which was a big surprise. I mean, it's a beautiful beer. It's probably my favorite beer that we have on tap year round.
What you're drinking?
I'm drinking Hellhast because I had a couple already. But yeah, I love that beer.
So what is a Dortmunder for some people that might not know?
Yeah, so the word Dortmunder means from Dortmund. Dortmund is a city in Germany, and a lot of these cool German styles are named for the city that they come from. Kolsch just means from Cologne. Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank, but there's a ton of them. Beers named after the city that they're from. It's still a lager. It's still a beautiful, clear lager beer, yellow beer. But Dortmunder tends to have a little more heft to it than like maybe a Pilsner or a Helles lager. It should have a little bit more body, a little bit more flavor going on. And this one comes in right around 6%. So it's a little heftier.
No, it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm at this brewery, because I also have family out in St. Louis, Missouri, and they're a big lager town.
Yeah.
And one of the breweries I love going to all the time, which is actually was on this podcast last year, was called Civil Life.
Oh, cool.
And they're all lager based, and it's so cool just going back to something like this. And when I would expect, you know, people that are not into craft beer, that hey, what do you have that tastes like a Busch Light and stuff, and they come to you. You guys must be perfect. Or people that come in are like, oh wow, you have actually a light lager that actually tastes like something most of the time. What did you say? Yeah,
I mean, I think there's like kind of this weird idea in craft beer that macro lager or macro produced beers are bad, or that like they taste bad, but people love them for a reason. Mm-hmm. They're consistent. I think I ordered a Bud Heavy just a couple weeks ago at a restaurant because it's a consistent beer. It tastes the same every single time you get it. And so people know what they're going to expect. And so if we can connect someone like, hey, maybe someone who comes in and asks for a Stella would be interested in a Pilsner, or maybe somebody who wants to drink a Bud Heavy would drink a Dortmunder. And our bartending staff is, I think, even better at making those recommendations than I am, because I don't talk to those folks as much as they do anymore. Anyway, it's been a long time since I've bartended, but
do you miss it?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I miss like being that connected to the people that drink my beer, but I can just sit at the bar and
drink it,
talk to people. Yeah.
Are people surprised when you're like, oh, you brewed this? Sometimes.
It used to be that they were a lot more surprised, and it's been kind of cool to see the shift from oh, you go, girl, that's so cool that you're a girl that makes beer, to like, wow, like, so tell me about the yeast strain that you use. Like, people are way less surprised that there's a woman making the beer that they
That has to make
brew.
you feel good that people are getting used to it, even though it shouldn't have taken that long, but
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you push people? I know we talked about this a little bit on the group thing, but how do you give people advice of women that, hey, you can go do this. You don't have to be scared of this. You can brew.
Yeah, I think if you want to do it, if you're interested, if you're curious even, you can always start by brewing at home. But if there's a brewery that you love, that you go to often, just ask around and see if you can bug the brewers and ask them your questions and see if they'll let you shadow a brew day. I tell people all the time, they are totally welcome to join me on a brew day if they want. I'm not going to let you do any work. You're going to hang out and have fun and sit down while I lift stuff and stand over a heavy or a steamy mash tun. But yeah, if you want to learn about it, learn about it. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't just because you don't look like the beardy dude down the street that makes the beer. And maybe that guy wants to let you shadow them too. So,
which I even find that a little bit, because a lot of the brewers I talk to on this podcast don't have beards. Ever. Francis does, and Francis has a great beard.
Yeah, Francis does have a great beard.
But I wish you were there at my first brew day, because I was with Kayla McGuire for 513 Brew Collaboration, and he asked who wants help clean out the mash tun, which I was like, oh, that looks fun. No, it was not.
No, but it is. Anytime I do a collaboration with another brewery, I try to volunteer to mash out, because most of the time, if you're the host brewery, you're doing all the work. And since we're so small and we have so little cellar space, if we're doing a collab with someone, it's usually at their place. So if they're doing all the work, I guess I can grain out for them.
So how did you get to know Natalie?
Natalie at Yellow Springs. I think we met at a Women's Day collab. Is that true? I think so. Yeah, I worked at Yellow Springs in their tap room for a little bit. Their Columbus-based tap room for a little bit. The GM is a very dear friend of mine, Jacob Wooten, and through just working in the tap room, I got an invite to their Women's Day brew. But it was kind of fun to go as a brewer also, because I was doing this job too. And to be able to talk shop with other women, which is not something I had experienced before. And I just immediately was drawn to Natalie, because she's so knowledgeable and kind, but also very confident and like, I don't know. I just want to soak up every minute I'm with her, because she's like just a joy to be around and a joy to brew with.
Yeah, I've enjoyed having her on, and I can always have her on anytime. And you as well, because you guys
thanks.
are awesome. So let's get into the Vienna.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It was
yeah.
at the Urban Artifact Day. It was such a good beer. One of my favorites of the day. And
thanks so much.
so talk to me about Vienna.
Yeah, this is Battle Song. It's our Vienna lager. It's the one and only recipe I've written for Gemüt. So early in 2024, we were working out our brew schedule for the year, and we had kind of an opening in like maybe February. And I said, guys, can we make a Women's Day beer? That would really mean a lot to me. And they were like, well, yeah, but probably you should write the recipe. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to do that. And they were like, that's okay, we'll help you. But you do some research and tell us what you want to make. And Vienna Lager was the first thing that popped into my head. It's a style I've always loved. It's a bizarre style. So if you've never had one, a Vienna Lager should just be like a really beautiful, crisp amber lager. Not too caramely, but enough sweetness to kind of balance out the hops. Negra Modelo is a Vienna Lager that people are probably pretty familiar with.
What do you even think about it?
Oh man, it's so good. It is the beer that inspired me to love the style. Makes a killer michelada. If you've never had one of those, they're awesome. But yeah, I told the guys what I wanted to make, and they made some suggestions, but they let me make all the final calls on the recipe, and I was really, really happy with how it turned out.
It's very good. Is it? I hope it's done well here too as well.
Yeah. I think. Well, we just submitted it to the World Beer Cup, so we'll find out. Hopefully, I'll get some good feedback on it.
Imagine if you get gold. I'm hoping.
Oh
praying.
Man, I'll pee my pants.
So, in the name Vienna Lager, I'm assuming Vienna, the malt is very heavy. Is that why it's called that?
Yeah. So the style originated in Vienna. I'm not a historian, and I'm really bad about remembering names and dates. But
you're okay. I'm not gonna quiz you.
Good, great. Basically, a couple of guys brewing together in Vienna stole some ideas from the Germans, the lager yeast. I mean, they're neighbors. And they stole some ideas from the Brits with their darker colored malts. And then made something new and interesting that people really liked over there. But I think I've been told many times that it's way more popular over here in the States now than it is in Austria.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you hear about that on any other styles, on what we like lager wise, that we like better than what's going on over there? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably drink more Dortmunder than Dortmund. I bet we drink a lot more Kolsch than Cologne.
Oh, I love Kolsch. Do you guys make a Kolsch?
We do, yeah. It's got another couple of weeks in the tank,
Nice.
and then it'll be ready to go.
Because I know like several breweries or do like Kolsch nights and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So much fun to go to those.
Yeah.
It's a different experience,
Yeah,
really,
for
but
sure.
it's fun and so. How popular is your Kolsch? It's probably pretty popular, but
I think so, yeah. We're not totally set up to do like full Kolsch service. But if you ever get the chance to do that, you absolutely should. It is a lot of fun. But yeah, I think it's pretty popular. When we have it, it seems like people don't drink it very fast. But when we don't have it, people ask for it constantly. So I'm excited to have it back on.
like I think Kolsch for me was one of my first like lightest beers in the craft, because when I first got into craft, it was all about the hoppiest or the strongest. Like when I first turned 21, because my dad taught me how to drink good beer at first. What's the strongest beer? That was not the greatest way of learning craft, but
yeah,
I was like, I'm drinking a 10% beer. What are you drinking? No, that was not a good idea, but
yeah,
I learned the hard way.
that's how we all learn.
But so what are some other styles you love to bring into here that are lagers? And is there anything you guys are thinking about?
Ooh. Honestly, right now we're just focusing on tightening up our processes, making sure that the beers that we have on tap are consistent all the time. As far as new stuff, I'm really trying to put more of my time and energy into collaborations with other breweries, because then we have more freedom to try new stuff. We get the input of our friends who brew at other breweries, and we can make stuff that might be a little bit outside of our wheelhouse. And on Friday this week, we're going over to Combustion, which is actually where my husband brews now. And we were going to make an IPL, which is just a big, goofy, hoppy lager. I'm really excited about that. Two Tones over in Whitehall makes a really great one, or they just did. It might be gone now because it was so delicious. I think I probably drank about half of it. But it's a neat style. It's an old style. But like you were saying earlier, that those West Coast IPAs are kind of coming back. I think IPL has another shot.
Nice.
Yeah.
So things in craft keeps evolving and stuff like that. What are some things you're liking and some things you're not liking?
Ooh. I'm not a huge fan of hazy IPAs or like smoothie beers, but maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm behind the times. Because I guess I don't really know what people are making and excited about right this second. I see a lot of like double dry hop stuff. I still have yet to have to dry hop a beer here at Gemüt, which is like such a relief. It's a pain in the butt to dry hop a beer. So double dry hop beers are certainly a labor of love. Because you wouldn't be doing that if you didn't love it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited to see people showcase exciting hops. Down the street at the Columbus Brewing Company tap room here in Old Town East, Adam brewed a beer called Saphir is the Mind Killer. It was a really beautiful Pilsner with Saphir hops. And I don't know if I could have told you before having that beer what Saphir specifically tastes like. But it was just such a cool, beautiful showcase of that specific hop. So that's the kind of stuff I get excited about, is when a brewer is really excited about a particular ingredient and they use it really well, and don't just like muddle it in with a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to warm up to hazies. I've had some really great ones, but they're just really not my jam.
My thing with hazies, I like hazies, but the problem is with hazies is that there's so many other options you can do to it. So
yeah.
Eventually, they all taste the same and stuff like that. No shout out to anyone, the people I love hazies. I keep drinking them, but But have you guys tested Pilsners here?
Yeah, we've got a Pilsner that we keep on all the time, called Golem. It's a Czech style Pilsner. Last year, maybe, is that true? Last year, we had a Pilsner Kel inspired beer that was on. That was really good and kind of funky and weird. Yeah, we played around with a couple of different types of Pilsners, but Golem is our staple.
All right, let's get into this. It's not clear at all.
This is a Goes. So it's a sour beer, a salty sour beer. It's called Last Shaker. And this was it's a tropical Goes, so it's got some tropical fruit flavors in there. But it was a collaboration with Nick Gabriel at Forbidden Root,
nice.
the Columbus Forbidden Root. And I say it was a collab, but he really did most of the work. But I think it's
that's different than what I've had.
Yeah, I think
that's good. That's good.
It's cool to break up the menu a little bit with something a little different. And I love it goes, especially when the sun finally decides to come out. That'll be really nice and refreshing.
But it went away.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
But talk to me about that collaboration day and how fun it was. And
well, we were almost like what's the term? Like ships passing in the night. We really didn't get to spend a ton of time together. But we have done collabs with Nick Gabriel in the past, and he is such a meticulous brewer that I always try to pay a lot of attention to what he's doing because he's really, really good at it. And he brews over there pretty much by himself, so he doesn't really need anybody's help when we come over, so we just kind of stand in the way and drink his beer and eat some pizza. But I love our collab days with him in particular because he knows Rob and Nick very well. They all brewed together at Four Strings, so they have a long history together, which is pretty cool. And I haven't known him as long, but I am really interested in like the way that he brews and the things that he pays attention to. So I feel like I always learn something really cool from him.
What's some of the biggest things you've learned from when you do collaborations? I'm sure it's a lot, but
oh yeah. Man, sometimes it's really small stuff like Yellow Springs. Brewers use 1 million buckets. We've got 5-gallon buckets everywhere. We put dirty parts in them. We put sanitizer in them. We use them to move stuff around, do yeast drops, all that kind of stuff. And usually the handles fall off, and then you've just got this like really uncomfortable bucket to haul around. But I noticed that all the brewers at Yellow Springs had these beautiful little bucket handles that just snap right on. So there's like small process stuff like that I've learned from other brewers. But then there's stuff like, I don't know, larger, maybe people who have brewed on more varieties of equipment than I have a better understanding of how like a Vorlauf works, for just throwing an example out there. And so them explaining how their equipment works to me helps me better understand how my equipment works and how I can manipulate it a little more to get more out of it. So yeah, I don't know. I think even if the only thing you get out of a collab is a new friend and a good beer, that's totally worth it. But most of the time, I learn tons of stuff. I mean, I showed up to a collab day once, and Abby at Sonder. It was the first time I'd ever met her. She had these beautiful overalls on, and I was like, holy cow, tell me where you got those overalls. And that's what I wear most brew days now, are these cool like Duluth water wicking overalls, because it really matters what you wear when you're working a manual job that's like wet and there's chemicals everywhere. So I think we all have so much to learn from each other. It's really hard to pinpoint like one specific thing.
Mm-hmm. Is there any collaborations you haven't done yet but you would love to do?
Oh man, yeah, I've got my eyes on some out-of-state breweries. I would love to get to Dovetail in Chicago. They make some really incredible lagers. I got a big fat crush on Fair State in Minnesota. Hopefully I'll be there later this year and I can bug them about doing a collab. But I don't know. I'm kind of open for anything because I feel like anytime you collab with a brewery, whether it's a brewery that makes the same kind of beer that you make or not, you're going to learn something new.
Is there a certain style you haven't done yet that you would love to do?
Ooh. I don't know. I would really love to do a Berliner Weiss. They're tricky, and I think, well, speaking for myself, brewers who don't usually work with funky bacteria get a little bit scared of doing sour beers, but I want to give it a try sometime.
I mean, you have some friends in Columbus, I'm sure could help you with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, more I come to Columbus. I mean, yeah, I'm dating Cincinnati, but I'll always love the Columbus beer scene. How do you like what's your opinion on the Columbus craft beer scene?
I think it has grown a lot. I've been in the industry. I've been brewing 6 years, but I've been in the industry 11 years. And I can't even count how many breweries are just here in Central Ohio now, which is really exciting because I used to know everybody. And so now when I go to a OCBA meeting or an MBA meeting, there's always new faces, and that's really exciting. I also think we're all trying to make better beer because when your friends are stepping up their game, you have to step up your game too to keep up. And that just means that there's more great beer for all of us to drink together, which is pretty cool.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. That's a great thing.
So what's some things about Gemüt that people might not know about?
Ooh, well, if you haven't been here, our tap room is beautiful. There are some really incredible custom-made stained glass windows behind the bar. And each of those windows is connected to one of our core beers. And they're all based in like German and Norse mythology, which is really cool. People ask us all the time if we used to be a church. Nope, we were a firehouse and then a music hall, and now we're a brewery. A maybe sillier thing that people probably don't know is that, at least in my experience, we have a ghost.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He
friendly?
Yeah, so far, yeah. He likes to blink the lights at me when I'm here by myself.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think brewers are probably some of the most superstitious people in the world, and so it feels like good luck that there's somebody watching the fermenters when I'm not around.
Hey, they would tell you when it's bad, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Like one's exploding. Oh, the lights are going off really bad. No, get some strong.
Yeah.
So what's the most proud of moment you've had since you've been a brewer?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. It felt pretty good to win gold at the World Beer Cup for our Dortmunder. But I think, I don't know, my journey has been kind of tumultuous up to this point. I haven't always had the best time. There have been times that I've had to kind of stand up against not so great characters in the industry, and I'm proud that those choices seem to have had a positive effect and have encouraged other people to do the same thing. There's going to be creeps in every industry, or even just not necessarily creeps, but people who don't have your best interest in mind. And when you can link arms with the people that you care about and put your foot down and stand up for what matters to you, that makes a big difference. And so I'm proud of the times that I've been able to do that.
Looking back for 10 years from now, what are you hoping you're doing? And
Ooh, 10 years from now. I would love to be heading up a team as a head brewer or production manager. But really, I want to be mentoring green brewers. I have this kind of idea. I've been trying to figure out how exactly I want to execute it, but I would love to start a brewer mentorship program locally, because I really think there are many, many ways to learn how to make beer, but it always helps to have somebody who's invested in you and helping you along the way and making suggestions. And yeah, I would really love to be running some kind of program that helps baby brewers become more confident. And too, when you've been in it, I mean, gosh, a decade isn't really that long, but it kind of feels like 100 years when you work in beer. When you've been in it as long as I have, sometimes you forget what's so exciting about the industry. And so to be able to pair people who've been in it for a long time with new folks in the industry, that could help them be more excited about it too. And remember why this is such a fun career and a cool industry to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. If someone would ever come up to you and say, I've never brewed before, but I want to learn how to brew, what's your best advice?
Give it a try. Get a kit, or if there's a local homebrew supply store, go and talk to the folks who are there, or go to the brewery that you like the most and talk to the brewers there and ask them what they suggest. Either you can go and shadow a brew day somewhere, like I mentioned before, or maybe you can buy a kit and try it in your kitchen.
Just my experience of doing it, of homebrewing, do it outside first.
Oh, yeah. Unless you're going to go really small. Yeah, try it outside.
I'll admit, my first homebrew, I forgot to take the lid off while the temp was going up, and it went everywhere. I was like, thank God it was outside. Thank God it was outside, because that would have been really bad.
I guess that's part of it, is that wherever you brew, it's going to be a mess. So be ready for that.
And always wait for... It's going to take some time. It's not a rush thing at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's okay if you make bad beer. That doesn't mean that you're a bad brewer. That doesn't mean that you will never be able to do it. I think I have definitely brewed some undrinkable homebrew. But that's just part of it. That's how you learn.
Right. And you've been awesome to talk to. And thank you so much for having me. And
yeah,
it's been Blake. A fun time in Columbus, and I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Blake.
And cheers.
Cheers.